I'll just explain briefly how it works. So if you want to crowd in, you can. Basically, you've got the idea of the game is to set in two acts, like a play. So the first act is you have to complete all the quests, and then the second act is basically getting home. It's like a sudden death act. So in the first act, you have to sail your little ship around and complete all the quests, which are marked by these quest tokens at different places, and are marked by a different coloured water space there. So you do that with playing through 4 phases, which keep repeating until the act is over. So the first phase is a card draw phase. So it depends on how many people are playing each game, how many cards you draw, but essentially the same rule applies no matter how many people are in the game, and that is that the last 2 players in each game to draw 2 cards each. So if you've got a 4-player game, then player 1 would draw 1, player 2 would draw 1, player 3 would draw 2, and player 4 would draw 2. And that's the card draw phase, so you would just go around in a circle. So you would have one person would be player 1, we'll just use this big blind thing to mark player 1. So player 1 sitting here, they would draw 1, player 2 would draw 1, player 3 would draw 2, and player 4 would draw 2, just like that. And there's no hand size, so you can save cards, you don't have to play them, and you don't ever get forced to discard cards because of the size of your hand or anything. So that's the first phase, it's very simple, just draw the cards. The second phase is the most complex part of the actual game. So this phase is basically playing cards from your hand. So if once again we had these players holding these cards, then you would start the card play phase. Everyone plays cards at exactly the same time, and you play them face down. So you have a look what you're playing, obviously, but you play them face down. So let's assume that these guys are all playing their whole hands, right? So you play all the cards face down. Once everyone's finished playing cards for the turn, then once we're sure that everyone's completed doing that, then whoever's player 1 would normally ask, is there any blessings or curses? And blessings and curses look a little bit different than the other cards. They've got like a squiggly kind of thing on there as a picture, whereas the normal cards just have a sail like that. Yeah. So, the other type of card, the other type is the one with the sword. What do I do with that curse? There you go. So the person will ask, is there any blessings or curses? And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for blessings, which is they've got the swords on them, and a curse, which has got like a squiggly picture. And there's different colours. There's purple and yellow, and there's a purple and yellow one. And if anyone's got a blessing or a curse, they would turn it over straight away like that. Okay, so that's the only blessing or curse in this particular group. And what you would do then is starting from player 1 and working around the table, you would play all the blessings first, and then all the curses. And then once they're done, then everyone would flip over the normal cards and do the same thing with those. So I'll play through this so you can see how it works. I won't actually action the cards; it'll take too long, but I'll just show you how it works. So basically, player 1 doesn't have a blessing or a curse, neither does 2 or 3, and player 4 has one. So player 4 would then play his curse, and then blessings and curses act a little bit differently than other cards. So once they've been played once, they basically get exiled from the game, so they get removed completely, and you will never see them again for the rest of the game. Once that's done, then everybody else will flip over all their cards. And starting from player 1 and working around, they'll play their cards. So this guy might have a card that does something like steal gold off you, or take a card out of there, or move the ship the other way, or something like that, right? And then once he's played it, it goes to the discard pile, which is this pile here. This guy will then play his card, and this guy's got 2 to play, so he would choose what order he plays them in, because one might affect the other, and then puts them in the discard pile. and the last guy who's already played his curse will then get to play his normal card. Okay. So the only other thing about this card play phase that you kind of need to know is sometimes someone plays a blessing, which looks like the swords. So if somebody's played a blessing and somebody's played a curse of the same colour, obviously the blessings will get played first. So he gets to do the ability on the blessing, but a blessing has another special ability which is not written on the card, and that is that it gets to automatically counter a curse. So he would look for a curse that's on the table of the same colour. So that's a yellow one. So that guy's got a yellow curse, unfortunately for him. So this guy would probably have a look at it, decide whether he thinks that person's going to use that on him. If maybe they say something to him like, "Don't worry, I won't use it on you," or something like that, then he can choose not to counter it. But otherwise, he might want to counter it. Okay, and it's still being played, so it still gets exiled. So the only way you'll end up with blessings and curses in the discard pile is if they get discarded from your hand. So if someone goes, discard 2 cards, and you go, "Oh damn, there goes my 2 curses." All right, so that's the card play phase. Okay.
So are all blessings played first, or is it?
Blessing and curses,
Blessings
yes.
go first.
Yep. So you go around the table.
Yeah, you go around the table saying you play 1. So you do all the blessings, and then all the curses, and then everyone flips over all the normal cards, and then you do all the normal cards. So it's beneficial to be player 1 when you're in the card play phase, because you can have a look how everything's set up, and you're like, okay, if I do this, and that's going to happen later. You can see what's going to happen later in the turn.
Yep.
Whereas if you're player 3 or something, it's still beneficial in a sense, because you go, okay, that guy's already used that now, thank God. Now I can safely use this card of mine. So there will be some strategy that comes into it. So the third phase is movement. So this is where the board part of the thing comes in. So everyone will start with the ship at Troy, and then in the movement phase you will roll 2d6, and you will move your ship. So I might roll 8 and decide to move 8 this way. Okay. Now you move from player 1 going around once again. So player 1 gets to move their ship. Everyone will roll at the same time, so you can see what everyone's rolls are. And then player 1 will move, then player 2 will move, player 3 will move, and player 4 will move. And the reason that we do it that way is because there's also a little bit of strategy in the movement. So sometimes you might block a space that you think someone else needs to go to, or something like that. But also, you can only have 1 ship at a time on a space. The only exception to that rule is obviously at Troy, where everyone starts, and at Ithaca, where everyone ends after they've done all the quests. And also at the quest locations, which are here, 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 and here, you can only have 2 ships docked at those locations at one time. So if somebody's already at Lotus Eaters, and then Kazi moves into Lotus Eaters, then Stephen can't go in there himself because there's already 2 people in there. But you might have an occurrence where player 1's already at Lotus Eaters. Let's say player 3 is already at Lotus Eaters from last turn, from the previous turn, right? Now player 1 moves into Lotus Eaters, and so now it's full because there's 2 people in there. Player 2 thinks, I wanted to go in there, but I can't. I'll have to go somewhere else. So he goes somewhere else, and then player 3 goes, oh, it's my movement now, and sails out of Lotus Eaters. So that happens a fair bit. So sometimes you've got to plan where you're going to go based on where this token is. So if you see that next turn you're going to be player 3, and you're going to be player 2, and you're potentially going to be blocked out of there if player 1 goes there, you might want to rethink your strategy on where you're going to go. Now I'll talk about why you go to the quests in a minute. But so the movement phase basically is roll your 2d6 and move. You don't have to move the full movement in Act 1. Okay, it's an Act 2 thing that I'll talk about in a minute. And you just move to your location. Okay. If you end up at a quest, one of the quest hubs, whether it's during the card play phase or even during the movement phase, you take one of these tokens. Okay. So if you sail into a quest hub during the movement phase, you're locked in there for the rest of the turn. You can't like roll a massive roll, sail into one and then sail into another. You're actually locked in there for the turn. You have to dock there. But you can complete multiple quests in a turn by using cards to like propel your ship into one of the docks, and then in your movement phase sailing to another one. So it is possible to do 2, or even I've seen people do 3 in a turn, but very rare that you do 3. You have to have all the right cards to do that. But during the movement phase, certainly you can only sail into 1. And you take one of the tokens. Once you've got all 6 tokens, you have to sail back to your thicker. Yeah? And that happens obviously during the movement phase too. You've got supplies, which is a little bag of wheat, which starts at 45, and you've got crew on your ship, which starts at 35. There's a little picture on the square, so you can remember where they start. And obviously your ship starts there. And you also have gold. We're just using poker chips at the moment for gold. You don't start with any gold at all. You just gain that throughout the game as it goes on. Okay, so every time your ship moves, so let's say I've rolled 5 and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'll move this down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've used 5 supplies to move 5 spaces, right? So you have to kind of make sure you're not running out of any of your things throughout the game. If you get really low on supplies and you run out, so this is your last couple of moves. So I've got 2 left, and I roll 4. I'm only going to be able to move 2 before my supplies are gone. So what I'll do is I'll work out how much I can move my 2, take that off, and then I've run out of supplies. If you run out of supplies during a movement phase or any other phase or whatever, you take your ship and you take it to Helios, which has got the supplies logo on it, okay, and then you miss the rest of that turn. Basically, you can't move any more that turn. If you end up at Helios because you ran out of supplies, you gain 8 supplies, and you can buy more. So if you've got gold, you can buy 1 supply per 5 gold. So 1 supply will cost you 5 gold. So you might have 10. Yeah, it's expensive. Yep. So you might have 10 gold. You might buy 2 more because you might think I need 10 because I need to get to here or something like that, right? So the other thing is the crew, which starts on 35, and that's your score marker for the game. So whoever's got the highest score at the end of the game wins. So your crew is your highest. That's your score. It's also the amount of crew on your ship, so things can affect it throughout the game, like the Scylla and Charybdis might swallow some of your crew, so you'll lose a few and things like that. You might gain more crew throughout the game, and so your crew count will go up and down. I've seen people end up on 60, which is the maximum. You can't go past 60, and I've seen people lose all their crew. If you lose all your crew, a similar thing happens. So you might be like sailing up here. You're on your last leg, you lose your last crewman, you would take your ship to Telepilos, and you would gain 8 crew back, and then you can also buy crew, 5 gold per crew. So you might have 10 gold, you spend it, you end up with 10 more crew, and you're back into the journey. But you miss the rest of that turn, you can't move for the rest of that turn. Yeah?
You can only buy from those particular
pools. And you can't sail into them and buy. You can only do it if you're unfortunate enough to run out of things. It's just to give you a chance to get back into the game, because we have seen people run out of stuff and then get back into the game and actually win. So you can actually get yourself back in, especially if you had a big gold tally. You can go, I'm going to buy a whole bunch, and now I'm on 18, and everyone else is doing really bad. They're down here somewhere. Suddenly that worked out well for me, or whatever. So, as I said, there was 4 phases. Last phase is an end of turn phase, where various things can happen. Sometimes there's a card active that tells you do this during the end of turn phase. Sometimes someone might do an effect to you, which is going to happen at the end of turn, and things like that. So there's a spot on the board here called Global Effect, and you'll see there's cards in here which have like a large capital writing on them which says Global Effect. And when you get one of those, I searched through here and I can't find one. But when you get one of those, you place it on there. So obviously you play it just like every other card, but you place it on there. Here's one here. So this is a global effect which will stay there, and it says this one says only player 1 can complete Scylla and Charybdis. So only player 1 can complete this quest, right? So that means that's locked out unless you've got the player 1 token. Yeah? Also at the end of turn, at that end of turn phase, you move the player 1 token. At the very last thing you do, move that to the next person. There is some cards and things like that which say steal the player 1 token for yourself and don't move it next turn and things like that. So you can save that until you need it, and then play a global that's going to help you or something. Okay. This global's got an extra thing on it which says you may discard this card from your hand at the end of the turn phase and draw a card. So if you've already, if you don't really care about that ability of locking Cylinder Troopers down, you can just discard it for another one, like cycling at the end of the turn. And there's a whole bunch of globals. So if somebody plays a global and there's already one there, it replaces it. Okay? Now there's one special global amongst all of them, which is a it's actually a curse. Right? So, and I'm going to show you what it looks like, so when you see it, you know it. So it's a multicolored curse, but it's called a global effect. No, I can't find it. It's in there somewhere. Basically, it sits there just like any other one. So when someone plays it, it will go there, but it can't be removed by another global effect. And I'm pretty sure it says on the card too. It says this can't be removed by another global. So it has to be removed by a blessing, but it's a multicolored curse. So anyone's blessing can get rid of it. So if someone doesn't like it, because it actually is quite a powerful global, so if somebody doesn't like it, they can play a blessing and just get rid of it. Here it is here. So it's the Curse of the Pantheon. It sits there, and basically what it does is at the start of every turn, player one gets to choose to have one player miss their draw phase, one player miss the movement phase, and one player miss the card play phase. So you can go, you miss that, you miss that, you miss that, right? So what often happens is someone will get to use that effect, and then they themselves will then get rid of it with their own blessing, so no one else gets to use it against them. But it's sometimes that card does get stuck there, especially once all the blessings have gone, because obviously once they're used, once they're out of the game. So if it gets stuck there, then it's there for the rest of the game. Phase 4 is basically like a clean-up phase where you do a whole lot of stuff that you need to do. Now, the main thing about the end of turn phase is these quest cards. So we have, this is the second deck, that's your God's deck, this is your quest deck. You have 10 of these cards, which we won't have any 5 or 6 player games. Actually, we use all 10, don't we, for a 4-player game. Whoever's in the 3-player game will be playing with a smaller quest deck. But the 4-player games, we use the full quest deck. So every time you get to an end of turn phase, if anybody has been to a port during that turn, the quest card one of the quest cards will be removed from the game. Once they're all gone, that's what triggers Act 2 to come in. So there's 2 ways that Act 2 can be triggered. The first way is when all these big cards are gone. The second way is when when everybody's completed all the quests. So with these quest cards, at the start of the game, you will shuffle them, and then you will turn one of them over, and that shows your quest rewards for the quests for that turn. So if I was to sail to Lotus Eaters this turn, while this one's usable, I would lose 12 crew, I would lose 3 supplies, and I would gain 4d6 gold. And if I was to go to the Underworld, I would gain 3d6 crew, I'd gain 4 supplies, and I'd gain 4 gold. And I'll talk about the 3 different resources in a minute, basically. But that's what you would get. So if somebody has gone to a port that turn, they need to claim their rewards at the end of the turn. Once all that's done, because somebody went to a port, you would remove that card, and then you would reveal the next one, and then everyone will have a look where they're going to go next turn. So with the rewards, even if you went to a port during the card move phase, because you used the card to like blow your ship, you used the wind of the gods or something to blow your ship into a port, you would then claim your reward. Say you went to Cyclops and you went to Sirens, then you would claim the rewards or penalties for both of them. So you make sure you get everything. Okay.
This is like a game timer.
Yeah, it's like a game timer.
Number of turns.
Yeah, it's basically will make sure that the game doesn't just keep going forever. So yeah, theoretically, once somebody has completed all 6 quests, you know that at least 6 of these are gone. And so as long as other people are also going to the quest hubs, they'll all go. The quest cards will all go. Once the quest cards are all gone, a couple of things happen. The first thing that happens is we have a look to see whether anyone hasn't completed all 6 quests. If they haven't, they're eliminated from the game. They're lost at sea. And if they have, the second thing that happens is if they have completed all the quests, then we go to Act 2. So whoever's left over at that time is in Act 2. Sometimes someone might be over here almost home, other times someone's just completed the last quest when that happens, and things like that. So okay, so explain what Act 2 is now. So Act 2 is all about sudden death mode. So a few different rules kick in. In Act 2, whatever you roll, you have to move. So you can't roll 12 and then choose to move 3 or something like that. You have to do your full move. So it's going to force you to burn through your supplies. Right. So the only way you can stop a move in Act 2, so if you say your ship is here and you roll a 12, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into Ithaca, and you don't have to move the rest of that turn as long as you've docked in Ithaca, because that's the aim. The aim is to get back there. Okay, so it forces people to go back. So you might roll 12 and you've got 5 supplies and you were 5 out, then you would move your 5 in. You've used all your supplies, so you've actually run out, but you won't get sent to anywhere, because in Act 2 you can't get sent to anywhere like in Act 1. Yeah. You would just stay there because you're in Ithaca and you've run out of supplies. Who cares? You're actually home. Okay. Now, if somebody played a card which then blew your ship out of port, which is quite possible, they might have blown you down here or something, right? How am I going to get back? I don't have any supplies. You would roll your dice. I've rolled 10 or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm 6 out. I've moved 6. I lose 6 crew. So 6 crew have starved to death because they've got no supplies. So you still get to move, but you're just burning through crew. So that might be the difference between you winning or losing the game, especially if somebody else is on just like 14 and you're on 17, and you're already home and you've got no supplies, and they blow you out of port, knowing that you're going to have to sail back in. Right? So things like that definitely happen. Now, a rule that we're going to try out today, which we haven't done before, which is designed to speed up Act 2, is called supply decay. So from the first turn of Act 2, in the end of turn phase, everyone's subject to supply decay, and supply decay is basically equal to 4 plus X, where X is the amount of ships that are in Ithaca. So if nobody's in Ithaca and it's the start of Act 2, then everybody just loses 4 supplies. So the supplies are rotting on your ship, basically. If somebody's in Ithaca, then everyone except for that person loses 5 supplies. If 2 people are in there, then everyone except for those 2 people lose 6. And then so your supplies will rot away, and it'll mean that you've got less time sailing around trying to strategize a win in that sudden death mode, because sometimes it went on too long. So we're trying to like cut down that too, basically. The other thing is, there is a reward for getting back home first. Obviously, getting back home first it's not a race game, but we do get a reward for getting home first. So if you get home during Act 1 and you're the first one to get back there, you get 5 bonus crew. And if you get back there during Act 2, you get 4 bonus crew if you're the first person to get back. Okay? So it's just a little bonus. There's a few other little things that you'll pick up as the game goes on. One of them, which always get asked, is where can we sail? So what we say is, as long as you can see 50% of one of the squares, then you can sail there. Like this one here, you can see roughly half of it, so you can sail there. If it's one like, let's see, like these little ones over here, where you can only see a tiny little bit of the square of the polygon, we say you can't sail there. We say you have to, like this one here, you can't sail there, you can sail there, you can't sail into that tiny little one there. So we just try to say, look, as long as you can see 50% of it, you can sail there. Yeah.
In Act 2, why wouldn't you just go straight for home?
If you didn't have the highest crew count.
So you linger playing cards.
So some people have played games where they've saved up like 9 really, really powerful cards, right, and they think that in the last, because this other guy was doing much better throughout the game, like getting to places easier, getting better rewards and stuff like that. Someone might have done better with cards and gold.
Yep.
Right, I'll tell you a bit more about the gold in a minute. So they might save their cards and gold till the end and try to use it in Act 2 to bully everyone around. So I've seen there's one global which says you can't sail in any northerly direction, like you can't sail northwest, north or northeast. And I've seen people blow all the opponents down a bit, and then play that, so that none of them can actually sail up to Ithaca. But then they also go, now you have to roll 4d6 for movement. Oh shit, they roll like 20. Now they've got to burn 20 movement, because you have to move your full movement. Oh, I just lost all my supplies and now I'm burning crew. Alright, I've seen people do that as well too. So there's different strategies. With the gold, you don't start with any gold, but you gain it as the thing goes on. You can use it as a donation to the gods, to bribe the gods to not, because this is called the gods deck, so it's seen as you're actually playing the powers of the gods on each other. It's not me playing power onto you. This represents the gods' powers, and they're all the cards are named after the Greek gods and stuff. So basically, if you want to bribe the gods not to cast a spell on you, as long as it's only targeting you, you can roll 4d6 and pay that much gold to counter that spell. If it's an effect that affects multiple people or doesn't actually target you directly, you can't counter it. There's ones in here which say things like target port. So you can target a port, and people that are within a vicinity of that port will be affected by the spell. You can't counter that because they're targeting the port, not the person.
The ship effect's the same.
Ship effect's the same. It's a ship effect. Ship effect. It just says in lowercase kind of letters ship effect on it. I'll just bring one up to show you what they look like. There's one there, right? So this ship effect here is the prayers of penance, and it says ship effect. Each draw phase you may draw +1 card. So you can have one ship attached to your ship effect. Sorry, one ship effect attached to your ship. So if you draw one, you just play it like a normal card, and then when you resolve it, you attach it to yourself and you keep it there. You can only have one at a time. If you play another one and you want to attach it to yourself, you've got to discard the other one. Okay, and you can play them on other people. So if someone's got a really powerful ship effect, you might give them another one, which will get rid of their really powerful one. And now they've still got a good ship effect, but it's not a powerful one like the one you had before. So there's also a ship effect, like a counter ship effect card, which basically, if someone's got a ship effect and you want to get rid of it, you can cast it onto that ship effect and get rid of it. Now there's a ship effect which is called Runes of Protection, which says you can't be targeted with anything, which is like one of the best ones, because you can just go about your business and no one can stuff with you. Right? The only way they can screw with you is if they're targeting a port or an area on the board and you're near that area. So if someone's got Runes of Protection, you can still get rid of it with the get rid of ship effect card, because it's targeting the card, not the person. And what else was I going to say? So this one here said draw an extra card during the draw phase. So if you had that ship effect, you would have to remember that if you play 3 or 4 or whatever, when it came around, you're going to remember to draw that extra card as well for your ship effect. So you just say, I'll draw 2 for my turn, 1 for the ship